They hit in the middle of the night and you felt the entire house shaking. We just needed to get out. I recently went to Puerto Rico and spent about 2 weeks there. And during the time when we were there, those large earthquakes hit, and they were pretty darn scary. The people that were in the south were affected greatly. Some people were just devastated, and quite honestly, this is the second time that some people may have lost their homes. The first time after Hurricane Maria, and then now with these earthquakes. We were up in the mountains towards the center of the island, and those earthquakes were crazy. But for us to feel that and be so scared, I couldn't imagine what the people down in the south were feeling. And quite honestly, they're still having earthquakes. So if you can help, I'm going to put some links below. When the large earthquake hit in Barranquitas, we lost power and water. So what I did was I decided to work on a project that didn't need any power during those 3 days when we had lost it. I actually decided to make some black organza flowers for a dress that I'm planning on wearing to Frocktails. So let me show you how I went about making those. Okay, so some of the materials that you're going to need. You're going to need a candle. You're going to need to be able to have access to the flame. Lighter to light the candle. Pins, scissors, the template, which I'll show you how to make. And we'll actually make that with just paper and a marker. Thread and a needle to sew the flower petals together. And then you want your fabric for the actual flower petals. So it could be white, it could be black, it could be honestly whatever color you want. You just want to make sure that the fabric that you get is synthetic, so that way you can melt the edges so that it doesn't unravel. The first thing that I want to do is show you how to make the templates. Now, I just kind of eyeballed these templates. I actually made it from my kid's sticker book pages, so don't tell him. So what you want to do is you want to take a piece of paper, it doesn't matter what it is, you can use whatever you have around, honestly, and fold it into fours like this. And that's going to give you a bit of a guideline. And then what you want to do is draw kidney bean shaped pieces and in smaller sizes. So we'll start with the large one and I'll show you how to make that, and then we'll start making the others. So I'm going to make this roughly the size of this first. There. There. And then the next one I'll just make a little smaller. And then we're just going to keep going smaller. And then the smallest. Oops. That one actually looks about the same size, so let me make that a little smaller. Okay. And when you have that, go ahead and cut them out. These don't have to be exact, because really, when you start making the flower petals and you start burning them, they're going to change the shapes. So don't worry if your kidney beans look a little weird. I mean, come on, look at that one. Okay. So those are the 4 different ones that we just made this time around, right? You can see they're all a little smaller than the last. These are the ones that I used while I was out in Puerto Rico. See? So they don't need to be exact. Just, you know, make sure that they're increasingly, well, they're smaller in size as you go down, as you continue to make them. I saw this tutorial on another YouTuber's channel, and so I'll be sure to link to her video. She actually has a little template. You can go to her website, download her template. I just felt like I could make it myself, so this is what I did. Okay, so we're going to need 6 of each of these different shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this fabric so that way I can pin them all on there, cut them all in one go. They don't need to be precise, so don't worry about that. Now, for this material, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it back in half. That's okay. So right now I have 2 layers, right? And then when you fold it this way, you're doubling that. So now that's 4 layers. And there's 6. So I'm just going to rearrange here so that way I can keep this flat because this is a little spongy. So now just pin your little kidney beans on there. Okay, now that they're all pinned, go ahead and cut them out. Okay, and there you have it. So when we take off the paper templates, we should have 6 of each. 2, 4, yes, there's 6 of each. It's okay if they're a little funny shaped, it really doesn't matter. So now the next step is that what we need to do is we need to melt these edges so that they don't fray. So that's where we're going to take our candle. I mean, I'm thinking this probably works better if you only have 1 flame, but okay. Don't put the fabric in the actual flame. What you want to do is you want to hold it close enough so that it melts it just a bit, so it seals those edges. And it's okay if it crinkles, because the more that it crinkles, the more realistic the flower petals are going to look. Okay, there's 1. And actually, now that I'm doing it with the 2 flames, I actually recommend that you try to find a candle with 1 flame. I mean, it is, you can see that I'm doing it here with the 2 flames, but what I'm finding is that it's a little complicated in that when you're focused on 1 flame, the other one starts to melt part of the material. So just kind of want to be careful. The heat source seems to be, as the flames flick, the heat source seems to move around a bit. So I did find this a lot easier when I had just one flame to have to deal with. Okay. And so there you see we have the 3 different sizes of our petals. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the smallest petals, and then we're going to work our way up. So what you're going to need now is your thread, needle and thread. And I'm using black just so that you can see what I'm doing. Go ahead and double it up if you'd like. I don't think it's necessary for this organza, but it does help secure it a bit more. So what you want to do is you want to take your first petal and you want to roll it. Okay. And then after it's rolled, we'll put a couple stitches in there just to secure it. There you go. And then you take the next one and you wrap it around that one as well. But you want to do it a little lower. So we're going to progressively get these lower and lower. For my black flowers, I made these pretty loose. So play around with it to see where you actually like yours to land. Okay, I'm going to stitch it down there at the bottom and keep wrapping. Now I am keeping this little kidney shape area to the top. So you can see there's the kidney shape area, and I'm keeping that towards the top here. And really you want to use thread that is matching, that matches the color of your flower. I'm just using this black because I want you to see what I'm doing down here, but it's also convenient since I just made a bunch of black flowers. All right, now we're going to move on to our next size. So you just want to keep doing this, keep wrapping around, overlapping where you ended. You want to make sure that you're overlapping that. Pinch down at the bottom and go. Okay, so now that we're done here, let's go ahead and tie this off after this layer, because the next couple of layers that we're going to add on with the larger flower petals, they're going to not quite wrap around, oh no, as well. So we'll need to stitch them a little more loosely. Okay. Now this one I'm actually only going to do single thread in. So go ahead and take your larger one, look for where you ended, which is right here. And then what we're going to start doing is we're going to start wrapping these a lot looser. As this flower gets bigger and bigger, you're going to have to start stitching it more. Sometimes as you're wrapping them, you might want to secure it with a stitch. And you'll see as we kind of go along here what I'm talking about. Okay, see how that doesn't quite close all the way? That's okay. We're still going to secure that sucker. And just keep doing this. See, you can see that it's starting to take shape. All right, and so now we're at the last ones. Now, when I was making my black flowers, I really kind of wanted these big, loose flowers. So that's what I went into. I kept that in mind when I was wrapping these petals around, right? So if you don't want yours so loose, that's okay. Just wrap them a little tighter. Okay, so see, now this is a good example of one where like I'm kind of having a bit of a hard time getting this petal all the way around where I want it. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to secure it here at the start. And then I'm going to wrap this around to where I want it. But see how that still kind of sticks out? It's okay. I'm going to put another stitch it right in here to keep that in place. And then I'm going to continue. I'm going to fold this over just a bit so that I can get this petal in there. And that's going to give me the large loose effect on the outer edges of the petal that I really want. See how pretty that is? Okay, so let's try this again. And here's our last petal. Okay, so now we're gonna finish this off. So just tie your knots. Flip your thread. And there you have it. There's a big old flower. Now I wanted this loose, but of course you can always go back in. You can, if you wanted to tighten it up, you can sew it even up further. Let me show you. Okay, so there you have it. There is your organza flower. Make a bunch of them, attach them to your clothing, make little floral bouquets, do whatever you'd like. I'll include some pictures so that you can see what they actually look like in the black that I made, and I attached them to a dress on top of some beaded applique. So I'll show you that as well. And I'll be sure to share with you the pictures when I actually wear my dress to Frocktails, so that way you can see what the total finished product ended up looking like. So there you go. I hope you guys have fun. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.